Morning, sir. Yeah, my question is regards to child care. You mentioned that earlier. That's one of the priorities apparently. Now, I'm one of those families that, unfortunately, I guess, or fortunately, has a larger income than the average. That said, I had a son who was involved in an accident. Now he's paralyzed. My insurance pays part of what I have. I mean, what injuries or costs I have to pay for. The insurance pays for some costs, but others I have to pay out of my own pocket. With that said, you know, we do have money saved in the bank, but what money you have saved, you wind up using quite a bit. So we've gone through the whole Social Security. He's young, he's 15, so that won't apply for him now. And there's another program, CCS. I'm not really sure exactly what the acronym on that is, but it's for children underage. Because of our income, at least for now, it seems like we don't qualify for that. So, you know, I see myself contributing to the system as far as, you know, Social Security and what have you. I know for a fact I won't, or at least more than likely I won't use up that money. So my question is this, I mean, as far as what's being done for the people, you know, you did mention, you know, whose income is a little bit above the average, you know, to pay for that. So that's just basically my question.
Yeah, I hope what you'll do is you'll pay attention. You see, this is what we find all the time. I suspect I'll say you don't consider yourself a really rich man. Maybe rich in love and life, but not rich with money. But hopefully doing well enough that you feel you can offer your kids some things that perhaps maybe you didn't have when you were growing up. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden we shouldn't help Jose when it comes time to covering some of those expenses that we're not expecting. When you have a son who's been hurt badly, it's tough. It's tough to pay for that. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we can prevent situations from occurring. Maybe we couldn't have prevented the accident, but we can prevent some kids from becoming too ill who then go to the emergency room because their parents don't have access to a doctor and they have to wait till the child gets so sick that they can go to the emergency room, because in the emergency room they don't have to necessarily pay. There was a situation that occurred a few months ago in Maryland where a young boy, I think he was 13 or so years of age, had a toothache. And his parents didn't have dental insurance. They couldn't afford to send their son to the dentist. Well, it got so bad, it hurt so much, they finally took him to the emergency room. But by the time they took him there, the toothache had become more than a toothache. It got infected, and the infection had spread. So by the time they took him to the hospital, they couldn't save him. So this young boy died from what began as a toothache. It happens in America. And so what we're trying to do is make it possible for families to be able to take their kids to the doctor early, to get that flu shot, or to do what they need to do to try to make sure that they keep their kids healthy, so we prevent the bad stuff from getting from happening. So I hope to stay on top of that, Juanita, and maybe at some point we'll be able to give you a good answer. Maybe you'll even qualify for that assistance that would be provided to some of those families who are working but don't have enough money to either get insurance or get enough coverage with their insurance. Okay?
Good afternoon. This week, the House Education and Labor Committee is considering the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, the ENDA, and this legislation seeks to provide employment protection similar to those of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but specifically directed to gay, lesbian, bisexual employees. Immediate concern is that the ENDA violates employers' and employees' constitutional freedoms for religion, speech, and association. Passage of this legislation would prohibit employers from taking their most deeply held beliefs into account making hiring, management, and promotion decisions. This poses this act forces certain businesses and organizations to sacrifice their overall mission in the name of political correctness. The federal government should not force private businesses to abandon their moral principles, and it also poses an unprecedented inclusion by the federal government in people's lives. I just wanted to know, in regard to representing District 31, how is your feeling about this act, and what is your position for voting?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Eva. ENDA, that's the acronym for the bill. It's a measure to try to end discrimination against people, in this case people of different sexual orientation. And there we identify folks who are either gay, lesbian. We now also recognize folks who are bisexual and those who are transgender. So in other words, what we're saying is, let's try to have a law, or the question is, should we have a law that says that in the workplace, if you're going to go find a job, that no one should decide not to give you a job based on how you want to have yourself be presented to the world. Many of us support that. I support ENDA. I would support it including for bisexuals and transgender, to have folks who are bisexual or transgender qualify for the protection, so that an employer cannot deny you a job because you are bisexual or transgender. There's not enough support in Congress to include bisexual and transgender individuals in the legislation. There will be, I think, enough support to make sure that people who are gay and lesbian will be protected under the law from discrimination in employment because of their sexual orientation. There will be probably a vote on the floor of the House of Representatives that will try to add those same protections that we're going to extend to gay and lesbian individuals to people who are bisexual or transgender. It will probably fail. I intend to vote in favor of that amendment that provides to bisexual and transgender individuals that protection. And that's different from what you read and said to me. So I'm probably not in agreement with you completely this evening on that, and let me explain why. I think if someone can do the work, they deserve the job. I wouldn't want someone to tell me, Javier, you did get it, even knowing full well that I can do it simply because I'm Catholic, or because my last name is Becerra, or if I happen to be gay. That has nothing to do whether I can do the work. And while 100 years ago, women weren't allowed to do a lot of these things, we found that women can do a whole bunch of things. In fact, we didn't find out in a year that we're going to have a woman who runs this country. But 100 years ago, we wouldn't have allowed that to happen. 50 years ago, my dad was told in the signs outside the restaurant, no dogs or Mexicans allowed. Even though my dad worked most of his life building the highways that you and I drive on, picking the crops that you and I eat, fixing the brakes on the trains that you and I ride on, and cleaning the hulls of the ships that bring a lot of the products that you and I use. Today, as 50 years ago, or as 100 years ago, there are people who are being discriminated for something other than their qualifications. I don't believe that should stand. And I'm prepared to make sure that everyone has equal opportunity so long as they have equal qualifications. And so that's why I would support, including with people who have a religion, people who are of ethnic or racial background, including with those people who are protected because of their religion, because of their ethnicity or race, people who have a different sexual orientation from me or from you, for purposes of being able to work somewhere where that has no bearing on how good you can do your work. And so I will vote for that, and I will vote for any amendment that increases that protection to those who are bisexual and transgender. But I can understand because there are some folks who don't believe that we should go there, and I respect that opinion. I don't agree with it, but I'm almost positive that those who don't want to include bisexual and transgender individuals will prevail because there's not yet enough support for them. Thank you for the question. Mrs. Rodriguez asked about Social Security for those who are seniors. General comment about Social Security. Social Security to me has been the most successful program that the federal government, the United States federal government, has ever established. I know of nothing that has had more success than Social Security. Today, less than 1 in every 10 seniors in this country lives in poverty. In the 1930s, before we had Social Security, more than 50% of all seniors lived in poverty. There is nothing that I've seen in the government or in the private sector that has done more to change the circumstance of a person around greater than Social Security. So I am going to do everything I can in this position that you've given me a chance to be in to preserve Social Security. I will fight tooth and nail anyone who wishes to try to privatize Social Security. I hope you'll continue to come. This is my best way to communicate with you and share my thoughts, and so that you know who your employee is in Washington, D.C. So you all have a good day. Thank you very much.